Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is a reflection on the vanishing vision for Tennessee. And we're fortunate to have with us this morning as our guest, Mr. John Seigenthaler, who's the chairman, the publisher, and the CEO of the Tennessean. And let me welcome you to comments this morning, Mr. Seigenthaler.
Thank you, Doctor. It's great to be with you.
Well, thank you very much. Mr. Seigenthaler, one of the things that we'd like to talk about this morning is the forum that was held recently among all of the television stations dealing with the so-called vanishing vision for Tennessee. But before we get into that, we know that you are a man of many parts and that you've been involved in a whole variety of things. And we'd like for you to take the first few minutes of this program to talk about first your background and to give us some information in reference to your education and say something about the variety of careers that you've been involved in, and then we'll get involved in reflecting.
My friends would say that there is no subject I like talking about more than myself.
We appreciate that.
But I appreciate first of all, the opportunity to be with you and the access Channel 17 provides this morning to talk about a vanishing vision for Tennessee. I feel deeply about it. I am a native Nashvilleian. I was born and raised right here. Went to parochial schools, graduated farther on. Wanted to be an educator, wanted to be a teacher. And after serving in the Air Force in World War II, I wanted to go to Peabody College. While going to school, I had a part-time job at the Tennessean. My uncle was an official there. I'm a product of nepotism. He got me a position as a reporter. It got into my blood, and it stayed into my blood. I later was a Nieman Fellow at Harvard, Communications Fellow at Duke. Much later on, I taught for Duke during an academic year, taught public policy communications, and loved it. But I think that as I look at my career, most of it has been spent right here in Nashville. Aside from that period in the military, and a brief period in 1961-62 when I was Robert Kennedy's administrative assistant in the Justice Department of the federal government. My whole life has been here. For 43 years I've been associated with this newspaper, first as a reporter, then as an editor, and then as publisher, finally chairman, CEO. And I'll end that career in a few months and go on to other pursuits here in this community. But my whole life's been wrapped up in Nashville and in the Tennessean, and it's been a fruitful and productive life, and one that I am glad to talk about.
Very good. Recently, as we indicated earlier, the various television stations attempted to try to deal with the problem of education. I think they called it a vanishing vision for Tennessee. And you served as the moderator for that show. Why don't you give us some information about the technical aspects of trying to bring together the various segments of the entire state and what you were attempting to accomplish? Why don't you use a few minutes to do that?
The first invitation came to me from the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters. I thought that organization did a phenomenal job in putting together the technical link, the satellite link that made it possible for us, first of all, to join Tri-Cities, Knoxville, Chattanooga, Nashville with panelists and with live audiences, and then to link us up with the western end of the state in terms of viewership. Every part of the state was able to see that program, and Tennessee Association of Broadcasters did a phenomenal job technically of putting it together. Now, I'm not a television professional, although I do a book review program on public television.
A Word on Words.
A Word on Words, and I enjoy that very much, but I really felt that I was in an environment with some real professionals, both behind the scenes, behind the camera, and here in the studio in Nashville with Bud Hedinger and Bob Mueller. Both of them did a terrific job. The thing that impressed me about it was not only the ability to put a studio in Nashville with 3 other studios in 3 other cities and to have communication back and forth. It also, the professionalism of those people who were involved in it and their ability to pick up the ball. A couple of times I just fumbled, and I sent Bud Hedinger and Bob Mueller a package of lifesavers the next day, because they just moved right in and took over in a very smooth way. And there were flaws, and there were technical bumps, and there were some echoes early in the program, and I botched the introductory speech. But beyond that, once we got beyond those first few moments and my ineptitude, then the program, I thought, began to come together and flow. And of course we had Governor McWhirter here in Nashville. We had Nelson Andrews from the State Board of Education. Milton Goldberg from the Federal Department of Education came in and participated. And we had people all across the state who represented a cross-section of opinion, both on the panels and in the audiences. And we invited people to call in from across the state, and we took their telephone calls and their comments. Now, it was a controversial program, because you're talking about not just education, you're talking about money to fund education, and therefore the issue of taxation came up very, very early. The president of the Conservative Union of Tennessee, strong anti-tax position. He was eloquent in expressing a point of view against any taxation. I thought he was answered by a large number of spokespersons who, from all over the state, pointed out that Tennessee schools are really in desperate need of improvement, and that we are lagging behind the rest of the nation and the rest of our region. So the point was to build a program around the title, Vanishing Vision. I said introductorily on that program, once it was said that Tennesseans had a vision for education, and that vision was fading, and that program was dedicated to try to sharpen the focus of the state's attention on this subject of whether our education is not, our quality of education is not diminishing, and what we can do to bring it back.
Very good. And